The measure for how well any given movie was marketed, or how well the previous movie in the franchise was received, is reflected in the opening weekend box office. How the audience responds to the movie itself, however, is measured in the second weekend box office, where word of mouth will play a significant role in how it holds up. In its second weekend, the family movie Sonic the Hedgehog faced some stiff competition from the premiere of Disney's family movie, The Call of the Wild. On top of that, the newly retitled Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, a movie where a subset of the built-in fanbase have placed Sonic at the very top of their shit list, remains in play. So how did Sonic hold up against such steep competition? Very well, thanks for asking. In this editorial, I'll go through the weekend estimates which place Sonic at the number 1 spot for the second weekend in a row, and just how significant that is. Then I'll contrast that with Harley Quinn, and explore why some of its more vocal proponents may feel that Sonic performing like this is controversial. On the topic of controversies, there exist some within the realm of Sonic the Hedgehog as well. Many of these centers around one person and an associated lawsuit, which I'll address towards the end. At the time of making this video, Friday and Saturday numbers are in, while Sunday numbers are estimates. As such, things could still shift a bit before the final numbers are in on Monday, but as of the making of this video, Sonic looks set to hold the number 1 spot for the weekend, coming in at around 27 million, while Call of the Wild, originally a Fox movie that Disney got in the acquisition, looks to come in at around 25 million. While both are family-oriented movies, audiences of all ages want to see Sonic. While Call of the Wild seems to draw an older audience, therein lies the difference. While the numbers suggest that Sonic will come out on top, there remains the possibility that Call of the Wild could surge on Sunday and take the number 1 spot after all. But even if that were to happen, it wouldn't change Sonic's numbers, and those numbers are good. Very, very good. Estimates suggest that by the end of the weekend, Sonic will have taken in around 107 million at the domestic box office so far. Not only do those numbers at this time in its release cycle mean that Sonic remains the biggest video game movie of all time, albeit unadjusted for inflation, those numbers pretty much assures that Sonic is going to be very profitable for Paramount. That is a welcome turnaround for the studio that has struggled for years, and that didn't see a single movie released in 2019 cross the 100 million threshold at the box office. Their previous movie to do so was Bumblebee, so you can rest assured Sonic 2 will be greenlit before long. Fingers crossed they'll greenlight some other Sega properties too while they're at it, like Shinobi, or the one I want the most, Golden Axe. In short though, things are going great for Sonic. They're not going nearly as great for one Harley Quinn. The movie formerly known as Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn took in about 7 million over the course of its third weekend of release, after which it will have amassed a total of about 73 million at the domestic box office, which is within striking range of what Sonic the Hedgehog took in over the course of its 4-day opening weekend. Given Harley Quinn's first and second weekend figures, these third weekend numbers come as little surprise, but they're still not good. And at this rate, the chances of it crawling past the 100 million threshold domestically are all but gone, and it's dead internationally too. As such, the movie will end up the least successful DC movie this side of Jonah Hex, a fact which appears to hurt the movie's fans much more than it will hurt parent company Warner or even Harley Quinn herself, who will be emancipated from this emancipation in James Gunn's upcoming soft reboot, The Suicide Squad. Still, among the fans of this movie, there are some, a certain subset, which come across as a rather vindictive bunch. We haven't covered it much, but plenty others have covered how this particular subset of Harley Quinn fans were out to get Sonic the Hedgehog, of all movies. They even managed to construe something homophobic to complain about. I can only imagine it must be because this particular movie iteration of Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey went about empowering women by way of infusing the movie with all-out misandry. And in so doing, it lost a good chunk of the built-in audience, most notably the female audience it should have catered to. Because of those who did go see it, the majority were male. It did, however, succeed in winning over a crowd that will support the movie on Twitter for the cause, even if they might never have read any of the comics, or have any intention of actually paying to see the movie when they're done venting about Sonic. From their point of view, I guess a movie like Sonic must be unsettling, because it deviated from the Ghostbusters playbook of gaslighting critical fans as haters, misogynists, and basement-dwelling incels. Perhaps burned from their experience with Terminator Dark Fate, I don't know, but the studio did something new and listened, and it was richly awarded for doing so. By contrast, Birds of Prey, like other recent movies that don't so much preach equality and representation so much as they preach turning the tables on perceived historic oppression, did things by the book, and it's paying the price. For those wanting to turn those tables, that is unsettling, because Hollywood just might take note. And they are. Vanity Fair correctly pointed out that the studio listening to the audience is what directly led to Sonic being a hit. And if they hadn't, it might not have turned out so well for them. Forbes took it even further, and flat out stated that listening to the audience is what saved the movie from certain disaster. Hollywood is right now learning that the audience ultimately decides what they want to spend their hard-earned cash on. And subverting audience expectations evidently isn't always the way to go, nor is gaslighting them. Where this movie is concerned, that is as far as the controversy goes. But within the realm of Sonic lore at large, there is more. As far as controversies go, there really aren't that many where Sonic is concerned. What there is, though, is mostly centered around one Ken Penders. Back when Sonic first hit the scene in the early 90s, his backstory, gallery of recurring characters and overall mythology was paper thin. The one who changed all that, by filling in the blanks and massively expanding the lore, was Ken Penders, the then writer for Archie Comics' line of Sonic the Hedgehog titles. Some of his stories are considered, well, pretty far out there, but the real controversy came in the form of a lawsuit involving him and Archie Comics. A lawsuit which he emerged victorious from, and in the process, he obtained the rights to more than 200 characters he created over the course of his run on the comics. Wow. How could something like that happen in the first place? And how could that be the outcome? And what did Archie Comics do afterwards? We could talk about that. However, as we came to discover when writing the segment about the Sonic Armageddon movie project for our Sonic mini-documentary, much of the coverage is pretty one-sided. There may be more to the story. So rather than talking about all things Ken Penders, we seized an opportunity that presented itself and went straight to the source to talk with Ken Penders, which we did, and for so long that we actually had to split up the resulting interview into multiple parts. Be sure to check back very soon for our exclusive 3-part interview with Ken Penders, where we'll talk about the comics, the lawsuit, and the movies. Till then, let me know your thoughts on Sonic's performance at the box office and what you thought about the movie in the comments.